Oh, yeah! Happy Comic Book Day, and thank you to Bad Mary for that too sweet play-in. Welcome all you four-color funny book aficionados. That means you. This is U.S. Comics Cast, Chapter 2, Episode 15. Two topics, 60 minutes for the people. I'm John Rivera, the CEO and co-founder of U.S. Comics.
And if that beautiful sumbitch right there is the CEO, well, the next best title a boy could give himself is COO, and that's me, your Long Island Lothario, Long Island IC, Charlie Rivera.
Nice. I am so tired of ordering new business cards for you, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Charlie boy, what is up on this beautiful comic book day?
I am living the absolute dream. I'm exhausted. But fun fact, one thing I don't know if we shared with the audience, for Lent, I gave a beer, but come Easter, my brother delivered. So we're getting back on boat the right way. And we're going to go ahead and crack these bad boys open.
Cracking it open. Nice and nice.
Baby, for Comic Book Day. Sip one for yourself if you got one at home.
Knock it back. Ooh, that looks hazy.
Ooh, fruity and hazy. Delicious. How about you, my friend? How does this Wednesday bring you?
You know what? It's trying to bring me down, but it cannot do it because I have been brought up by the beauty that is comic book dumb. Comic book nerditude has once again saved me in the third act from the clutches of the evil baddies. So
that's the way
I
they
can't
do
complain.
If you're watching right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, make sure you share, make sure you drop a like.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to do it. I'm not a hypocrite at all.
Nice. And he somehow figured out how to only like the Charlie content while excluding Big Brother John. But you know what? That's okay, because they say that in life, one must make choices. I didn't make this up. This goes back. Like, if you look up any of the old books, dare I say even the good book, you will find exactly messages of that ilk. And sometimes you need to check yourself. Have I chosen right? Have I chosen poorly? And Charlie and those watching and listening, I feel that this is one of those times where I indeed have chosen, well, it's not just my opinion. It was written on yet a new package that has arrived here in the jers.
Oh, no.
So, for those who are keeping score at home, we have another new happy addition to the collection. So let's do it the right way, because I do not want to get any more guff from these damn comic book nerds. So we'll throw the safety.
Oh, no. Come on. You already almost lost the finger.
Don't pay attention and we're going to let it ring.
Oh,
ooh,
that is frightening.
Ring.
You cut yourself last unboxing. Why tricks? You don't know how to do tricks, man. This is wild levels of dangerous.
Yep. All right,
boy. And
make contact on that one.
There's the thumb, ladies and gentlemen. It's gone.
All right, we got a nice slice across the barrier, and let's crack her open like the clamshell she is. And
oh boy.
Oh.
When it comes to that double foam, I always assume it's a knockoff from Japan.
Woo. Or a custom, sir.
What?
A custom. Ladies and gentlemen, peep your peepers, because it has been said that there are 3 important tasks that need to be accomplished before you can wrap your bubbling lips around the holy of all holies, the Grail. There's the breath of God, right? Only the penitent man shall pass, and God knows I'm penitent. I'm on my knees more than a $2 whore during Fleet Week, right? There's the word of God. Only in the footsteps of God will he proceed. And as I know, in Latin, Jehovah starts with an I. And Lord knows everything important starts with I, starts with me. So I got that covered. And what else? Oh, there's the path of God. Only in the leap from the lion's head will he prove his worth.
I'll
And
preach, brother.
and I may be the Lion King, but I am telling you now that I believe I am worthy. So I'm gonna let us take off this plastic protection, because Lord knows the Catholic Church don't like protection. More kids, the better.
What the hell? Ooh,
Ooh,
holy crap.
Look at it glisten,
This
kids.
is unreal.
Look at it glisten.
For those of you
We have a little-
uninitiated, we're looking at another Indiana Jones prop.
Ooh, the
This
pinky's
time-
out because I'm a gentleman
Oh,
too.
you fancy. The Holy Grail. It hasn't even been ruined by blood because John Maine somehow, magically, didn't cut himself. So you have chosen wisely.
Now,
John, this is gorgeous.
Now, had I cut myself, I would have just dipped my missing digit in the tranquil waters of the Holy Grail cup. I will admit this: if a bomb piece German scientist came up to me and was like, "Well, give me the Grail," I'd be like, "All right, here you go."
All right, just handing it over. John, that's crazy. Where did you even find that? Also, is it sacrilegious?
I'm living I'm living in custom land. These are created items for me. So both my fertility idol
You're just
and
keeping
now
this one guy
my
on
Holy
Etsy in
Grail.
business.
My Holy Grail was also as well as handcrafted. I don't really think that this camera, and this is a good camera, but I don't really think it catches all the subtle nuances. Like even the inside is like gold, very golden. It is movie accurate.
Well, what's amazing about these props, and I think your camera's doing it enough justice to get the point across
Good.
for those, again, watching the video and not just listening. What's amazing is anytime a prop is based on something that kind of looks bad, like the whole point of the Holy Grail is like dumb people don't pick it because it looks kind of like shit. So when you have someone with that much talent that they make something nice and then immediately ruin it, that's just epic. That is gorgeous. It looks like it's the perfect size. Now, I don't think that was cast off the original prop because
I'm
then
sure
props
not.
were treated like garbage.
But this is like if somebody was eyeballing this. I mean, I feel like on a side by side. I mean, we could probably do that in post. We'll lose Charlie as a co-host and go ahead and get the professor in. So fun fact: while we're casting the glow of the lovely cup of Christ, many people know that Indiana is indeed not his given name, his Christian name, as it were.
The dog's name, baby.
It is indeed the dog's name. So the dog in the Jones household was named Indiana. Now
the dog's name is Indiana.
That wasn't just something that was plucked out of thin air. Another dog happened to have the Indiana moniker, and it carried over. It was actually George Lucas's dog, who was named Indiana. And obviously, we know Lucasfilms, and they in essence made these movies hand in hand, like the hetero life mates that they are. So they carried it over. So Indiana Jones is actually named after George Lucas's dog. Another fun fact, since we're bringing up George Lucas, that same furry best friend, Indiana, was also the inspiration for Chewbacca.
Really?
So I'm like,
he
while
wore a bandolier.
he
yelled a lot.
On one hand, I obviously worship at the altar of Harrison Ford. He's the man. I've got a Callista Flockhart poster over my bed.
Just out of respect.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's pure respect, man. Pure respect. But as much props as he deserves, this damn dog, Indiana Lucas, deserves maybe just as much, because this dog single-handedly inspired these characters. Harrison just played these characters.
Exactly.
This dog is the real star. But that being said, since we have already name dropped George Lucas, we have to also acknowledge one other thing.
Sadly.
And that is, in fact, George Lucas, you are a liar. Because why, Charlie?
Han shot first, baby.
Han shot first
Put
before
him up,
anything
drink
else.
Him up. Kalinky.
Clink. Knock him back.
I'm never prepared.
Ugh. You would think after this many episodes, I could just knock it back and not have to double gulp it like a damn freshman during introduction week. That is embarrassing, but you know what? I'm at a point in my life where I'm going to lean into it and just let it go. Let it go, baby.
I think that's the best way to do it.
It's going to be a long life.
But while you're letting it go, I can't wait to see you just on a New Year's Eve kicking back some champagne in the Holy Grail. I love that you're into props now, but you're going to wind up giving props at the end of my segment. Why don't you start my time? Because I'm a motherfucking Segway machine, baby.
I got to tell you the truth. Before you even get going, I might give you an extra 2 minutes because that was a segue worthy of a morning show zoo, like a throwback to the anchor desk from the weatherman giving like the worst forecast. Like, well, we're gonna have about 20 feet of snow, but while you're at it, take it away, Susan. Oh my God, Charlie,
fuck yourself, San Diego.
God bless you. God bless you. But I'm starting your time now.
So I'm gonna borrow a little from you because not only am I the unholy Bizarro-like clone of my swole, handsome brother,
self-appointed, I must say, you gave yourself, much like most of the monikers, you've given yourself this moniker.
True. That's true. But a thing I'm gonna borrow from you, a thing I'm gonna co-opt today on this lovely episode 15. You talk a lot. There's kind of common things that show up in the show. I talk about you never want to yuck someone's yum, whereas you talk about slipping in the vegetables. No, sorry, Bumble ladies.
Listen,
not talking about that.
Brian Taylor is already in chat talking mad smack. I don't need my brother also just throwing around loosey-goosey that I'm slipping things, right? I've got a reputation.
Fair enough.
To some degree to respect.
The concept, rather, of throwing in some vegetables with the kind of snack, with the main course. It's one thing to entertain, but the next level of that entertainment is getting something out of it. And right now we happen to be living in this beautiful time where there may not be a better example than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, sure.
Episode 4. We got 2 episodes left. It's only a 6-part miniseries.
Is this going to be spoiler-tastic or is it safe?
We are going to go into spoiler territory, but we're also going to talk kind of globally about it.
Okay.
First off, how are you enjoying the series? I'm loving it. That's obvious. I feel like week in and week out, but I do feel like each episode is truly building on the one before it in kind of interesting and unexpected ways. Just in general, how are you feeling about Falcon and Winter Soldier? Is it living up to what you wanted?
Well, here's the thing. The funny thing about it was, much like WandaVision, I was not super to say that I wasn't invested would be that wouldn't be completely accurate. I was invested because I very much enjoy the ongoing Avengerverse that Marvel has going on over there, right? However, I wasn't going in like knock-kneed and fingers crossed because I needed to accomplish X, Y, or Z. I'm pretty confident that we're going to eventually build up to my orgasmo Marvel moment, which will be indeed Secret Wars, because that was my big entree into comic book dumb when I was just a youngin'. However, this stuff for me is like, it's like house money, right? This is like the icing that's still on the cake after you're done polished off your your slice of goodness. So I'm like, oh, here's a little extra icing. No. So great. To a degree, I find these episodes to be more along the lines of like almost like after credits moments, just extended out. You know, you've extend out an after credit scene to like 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's where we are, because it very much feels like it's transporting us on to the next thing. However, within the confines of each episode, they're able to accomplish quite a bit, right? It's not just filling in the gaps. It's actually accomplishing quite a bit. They're really character building for characters that we've already been introduced to, which I very much appreciate.
Well, I mean, what's really amazing about the miniseries format, the thing I love most about it, and the thing that makes me clamor for like the old days of proper miniseries, like let this trend keep going. Let's every year get a few bites at the apple because, dude, Baron Zemo now has like the second most screen time of any villain, and he's dancing away on memes,
Here,
crushing it.
that's an interesting point. I'll get to that as an eventuality
Yeah,
because I
because
don't want to take away from your
up
topic.
until now, it's been Loki by a mile. No villain character, no evil character, and Loki's a tweener. Let's face it. No one's gotten more screen time, for heaven's sake, bad guy wise, than the man himself, the purple masked, glorious son of a gun. And what I love about it is that it affords room for that. But that I was expecting. It affords room for characters to come back. You know, we have Sharon running around, causing all troubles. I got theories up the wazoo. I'm not saying that she's definitely the power broker, but like you heard it here first. She's almost definitely the power broker.
All I'm gonna say is that you're going to see the power broker. My prediction is this: when you eventually do meet the power broker in that, under that title, there's going to be a white suit involved. That's my prediction. That you done here first too.
Yeah, it's the writing's on the wall. It's kind of perfect that way. One thing though that's really interesting, it seems to me, and I don't know this to be true, it seemed like they were setting up the whole point of the series to be about how do you get Sam to kind of accept this responsibility? How do you get him to a place where he not only doesn't want, a kind of murderer rocking the shield, but instead he wants to be Captain America. This is a hero in his own right. He has his own struggles. We've seen it, but the show very quickly kind of announced itself as so much more. If you're enjoying this show for the action sequences and for when he uses his wings, awesome. I'm so glad because that's the meal, that's the snack, that's your cookies and milk. But they are throwing
all three?
All three. They are throwing in broccoli and carrots left and right because ultimately, especially that last episode, man, I saw Twitter act really, really in an interesting way for once, because it wasn't just the normal vitriol that Twitter is, but it got them talking about the very obvious racial and social issues that they're
This
talking
is for you
about.
for working in vitriol into the conversation.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Spend that wisely.
But what's really amazing is they went as obvious and overt as like Sam Wilson in a small town. The cops are breaking his balls for kind of just existing. And to pretend that that's not a comment on race and class is insane. Because the minute they're like, oh, dude, that's an Avenger. They're like, oh, shit, it's an Avenger. It's like Will Smith isn't black, he's green. Like, that's like a thing that's been said.
Even more so than a Will Smith, because he's the type of performer, entertainer that's like any grandma who hasn't gotten off of the rocker in the last 2 decades still identifies this dude who, ears sticking out, looking like he's going to take off. Like, is that Dumbo? No, that's Will Smith. Oh, the Fresh Prince. Like, even a grandma would identify. More so, this would be like the equivalent of, an offensive line player for that hometown team. And then your partner has to lean in and be like, yo, that's Leonard Wilkins, dude. Number fucking, 782 or whatever the hell's going on. And that's all of a sudden now preferential treatment happens, which obviously is wrong in and of itself. But clearly the bigger wrong is, what initially instigated it.
But what's amazing is the show does this really cool thing of not harping on it, right? It throws it out there and it almost wants you to store it in the back of your head, because this last episode, the Dora Milaje, is that how you pronounce it? I always screw it up. The Dora Milaje, we think, is how we pronounce it. I'm going to stick with it.
Not quite sure what you're referring to, but okay.
From Wakanda. The Black Panthers, like secret police.
Yeah, it's an imaginary word, so it doesn't really matter. You can call it Susan.
So the Susans show up, and what was really interesting is they have a moment where they kind of take back all their vibranium.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is in terms of taking Bucky's arm, which for those familiar with the movies, which at this point they showed us flashbacks in the show, they gave it to him. They like cured the Winter Soldier from being a crackpot. They get rid of the Russian code words that turn him into a murderer.
Right.
They gave him a new arm. And then in a moment where he had the option of either kind of sticking with the people who saved him quite literally, or standing up for his kind of beliefs and what he's trying to get accomplished, freaking, he chooses to kind of stick with his values and his morals. And they just are like, well, we'll take our arm back, stupid, and we'll take the vibranium shield back. And what was interesting was on Twitter, there were a lot of people upset at like the Wakandans don't have authority there. They helped them and now they're hurting them. Whereas like the bigger issue, the one of the bigger themes could have very easily been, white imperialism and them taking back what they feel justifiably, or maybe not justifiably, is theirs. And it was just so goddamn cool seeing in such a nerdy way, them have those conversations in like a 45-minute episode of something called Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. It was freaking awesome, and I loved it, and I loved seeing the conversations about it.
It's an interesting take on your part, if I'm speaking quite frankly, because that's exposition. That's not like a statement of affairs and like
that's also
run
true.
The credits. So that's the interesting thing about this episodic storytelling, is that each episode needs to have its own beginning, middle, and end, and accomplish something, right? To get to kind of drive the point home and say, I'm just going to use Mandalorian as an example, because Mandalorian obviously did it first, but in my experience does it best, because Mandalorian, you can refer to episodes of Mandalorian as kind of like what happened in there. So you can refer to like
he went on.
the ice caves episode, the ice spiders and stuff like that episode, and instantly your mind is thrown back to that moment and that episode, and where which cushion you were sitting in, and like, did you fart that day, and what was going on, and what snack you had. You're instantly right back there. But on the same token, that episode did certain things that are very important that just become ingrained, and you walk away from that episode like the ice spiders. You didn't walk away from that episode thinking, God, those poor ice spiders. They woke up that morning and didn't think that the whole house was going to be trashed and their little alien eggs were going to be destroyed. No, you walked away from that episode thinking like, wow, Grogu's like not a one-dimensional character. Like, you walked away thinking like, is Grogu like a bad old man? He's 50. He's like rapidly approaching retirement. He's like very close to buying a Corvette, midlife crisis type level. Like the male pattern baldness is clearly happening already. The ear's a little bigger than proportionate. So you walk away from the episode thinking about other things than the identifier, right? So Winter Soldier is doing that as well. I think they're doing a little bit more clandestine. Right, so the stuff that you're referencing eloquently, I think that relax. I have to live with you, so I got to throw out one or two every once in a while. I think that the majority of viewers, they receive that type of content underneath, right? It's like if you fall asleep and you're listening to it's like, you don't need to smoke anymore. You don't need 2 desserts. People like you. And then you wake up like, I don't need to smoke. That's the type of level, the underneath level. Like, in Fight Club, that's like the penis that plays during Lion King. You're like, I just see a Schwartz. What the hell is that? I think that's what they're doing. So they're being like very cool about it. It's not in your face. I agree personally with all of it. However, if someone is coming from a place where like, that's not my cup of tea, that's not my brand of chocolate, whatever version you want to throw out there, it's not going to offend them necessarily. Like, if they did pick it up on a surface level, the worst that they might say is like, well, I don't particularly agree with that. I'm rooting for Baron Nemo. That's the issue. So if we're gonna stay political, and another friend of a combined friend of ours.
That sounds like they're a Voltron. Like we have 5 friends that become
Yeah,
one
they
regular
become
size
one.
friend.
um, yeah, a friend of ours mentioned on social media that he particularly didn't like the love that the Baron was getting.
Really? Because
Yeah,
he's almost a
he's like,
Nazi.
this is a bad fucking dude, man. And another, obviously, well, someone on the proverbial U.S. Comics payroll threw in like, like don't get too attached. Like he's a bad guy. I'm referring obviously to Craig. Craig was like very adamant about throwing out there like, folks, don't don't fucking buy the cheese off the street vendor before smelling it first, because that is clearly not a quote of Craig's. But he threw out there like, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's like, yeah, he did a little dance, very cute and all that stuff. But this is not an anti-hero, right? This is not
Yeah.
Venom
It's
that
not.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
This isn't Punisher that we're talking about. This is a straight up bad guy. Now, you had mentioned Loki earlier, and Loki is probably the most interesting version of that, like, fine line. But if I was an Avenger, and I think we clearly know, if I was in the
You got
Marvel
your
universe,
membership
I
card.
clearly would be. Clearly, maybe a junior Avenger, like
I feel
something.
like you would
Something.
be like the heroes for hire level, where they're like,
Fine,
yes, you can be an Avenger.
that's fine. They're like,
You don't get a bedroom.
you can be a defender. So
You can be a
relax yourself.
defender, and depending on where in her story, you might got a shot with some of the members. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Depending on how many drinks exactly Jessica Jones had,
yeah.
you
You don't
know.
get to stay in Avengers Tower unless you're
No,
really
no,
able
no,
to
no, no.
talk yourself in.
No.
But
You can come to the Avengers Christmas party, but you don't get a +1.
be like, your best bet of getting to sleep at Avengers Tower is talking to Daredevil for more than 10 minutes. Because he'll just touch your wrists and he'll know you're all in shape and shit. It'll be beautiful.
You're like,
It'll be a
damn, I thought
beautiful
you were
thing.
foggy.
Oh, you say you're a lawyer, huh? That's interesting. And a superhero?
But yeah, no, there's clearly a lot of things going on. There's a lot of balls in the air, so to speak, on that show, which I dig, especially if it is going to be, it's a bridge. It's a bridge to whatever vehicle,
Yeah.
whatever the big vehicle is next. Because the other thing is that Marvel has a lot of time hopping going on right now, so their next big release is,
In the past.
is in the past. That's exactly right. So
Where we may get a new Black Widow. That's an interesting conversation too. Not for right now, but like, I saw that trailer and I was like, wait a second, are they trying to set this up? But what to go back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
no,
Someone brought up, when I was just kind of falling in love with these Twitter conversations, one guy was awesome because one guy had like a hot take of like, fuck the Wakandans. And then everyone was like, well, this is why you're wrong. And he was like, I'm going to leave this tweet up because I want everyone to know how fucking dumb I was when I looked at it kind of myopically.
Yeah.
What was really cool too, though, was someone posed the idea that like maybe the point of this series, which will lead to more stuff, obviously, but maybe the point of Falcon and Winter Soldier is like, no, man, the Captain America mantle doesn't work. And like the only Captain America that could have worked was Steve. And when they had this kind of second wave of Winter Soldiers, this poor black guy who got locked up and experimented on, which is an amazing story if they ever dive into it on their own miniseries or as part of this, or if it leads to Young Avengers. It's awesome that they were like, no, other people had the super soldier serum.
Sure.
And it wasn't as goddamn heroic when the person wasn't as good looking. If you're not America's ass, there's a real chance you're just going to be kind of stuck with needles and sent out to horrible places to do questionable and horrible things. But someone posed like, maybe the whole point of the series is that Falcon's right and like the shield shouldn't be used. And that ending sequence, again, spoiler, but the way that episode 4 ends with what could be taken as like a decapitation almost, with Captain America's shield.
He did him like American History X, boy. I was like, ooh,
but also
like Tony Soprano coming in like, what you say about my daughter?
and first of all, that impersonation,
Yeah,
dynamite.
thank you.
What
On.
what I really loved about it was that started the conversation that I really wasn't expecting, which was like, well, John Walker, the new Captain America, who's doing such a good job. He's getting like real life death threats, except he's not on Twitter. So like fan sites of this actor are getting shut down because he's doing such a good job. Like, way to know you're crushing it. Just throwing that out there. He may not be your Captain America, but he pissed you off the way he was fucking trying to. What's amazing is that what led to that was there were some people being like, well, when Punisher kills, we feel like it's justified because he kills bad guys. They killed Battlestar. Very interesting that Battlestar was like the Black Bucky, right? It seems like a company or the government might say like, well, the optics on the last Captain America kind of had a black sidekick, but a black guy died, and he's the only one that died that led to all of this. It's just, again,
I'm with you, Kyle. By the way, Kyle chimed in. Definitely not Captain America. John Walker must go. Kyle, I will tell you this: any threats that you may have made against this actor on social media, I suggest that you remove them. Otherwise, your affiliation with U.S. Comics might be limited. Just kidding, Kyle. I agree with you.
But again, what's amazing about that is even that notion, not my Captain America, when in the comics Falcon took over for him, that was also tweeted. And it wasn't tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, you're talking about like comic book fans and stuff like that?
Comic book fans and fans at large were like, get this Negro out of the Captain America suit. That happened. Oof. There's no like debate. There were a bunch of assholes that said that.
Patooey. Those 100... people should literally have their comic book reading rights stripped of them. And like, here's an Archie, dum-dum.
Well, but also, could you
and not like a cool modern Archie where like it's a horror story. Like, here's some like terrible, you buy them in the supermarket, like $1 for like 50 pages of terrible Archie never has a threesome.
It's just him
with
never
Betty and
getting
Veronica.
laid
Never.
and trying to aggressively. Could
and
you
Jughead
imagine
just getting smoked out every day, like, you loser.
Be like, damn, Jay, your stock has dropped since Clerks, huh? What's crazy though is, could you imagine if the character of Captain America were real, and if he learned about Twitter, and then someone was like, they don't want your like one of your best friends to take over for you, how much you would fucking hate them? These were Captain America fans,
sure, of course,
that were like, Captain can't be black. You fucking missed the point, idiot.
I hate to cross-pollinate when you're talking about different universes, comic book universes, but Homelander has legitimate, like, people were cosplaying as Homelander, like, in a fandom way. And like
he's
those,
so awesome.
Those are the people that you can't even really be mad at. Ultimately, you just want to be like, "Ay, bendito, well, come over here, Papa. Come here. Let me sit down. Can you sit down in that? Does it zip up the back? Is it a little tight? All right. Here, just Papa squat. You understand that Homelander is the bad guy. I know he's dressed up like the flag, and there's little eagle epaulets just like Judge Dredd, and I get it. I get all of that. And I know he kind of looks a little bit like the U.S. Comics logo, like if that was a human being. I understand all of that, Papacito. But understand, please trust me. I've read the books. I've watched the series as much as been released, and it's true. I know it's tough. I know it's hard to accept. I know it's difficult. But Papa, he's bad. He's a bad guy. Trust me. Okay.
That would be like someone falling in love with our universe, and then for some reason it's announced that like Pest is the first movie, and they're like, "That's not fucking U.S. Comics. There shouldn't be." Like, what the fuck are you talking? That's time. Oh, dance it out. Oh, Suki.
Ooh, we've been hearing more of this Go song at the Garden lately.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing when we hear that. Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. And no, Brian, he's a great character, but he's not a great guy.
We got our chat doing overtime today.
Yeah, chat's working it.
Great character. I just want to throw this one in too. Kyle said he thinks Bucky should take the role, just like some of the comics. Bucky is changing, and I think he can take the role. Again, you know what I find really interesting is I think the show, with only 2 episodes left, no one could wind up Cap. Bucky could wind up Cap or Sam could wind up Cap. And I think both, I think all three rather, could make a whole lot of sense. But the reason that I am afforded the right to make a lot of sense is our lovely sponsors week after week. And of course, we want you to do your work. We want
this
you to
show
follow.
would not be possible without these good people.
And obviously, you always have to go to our social media. All of it's at US Comics HQ. You go to our Twitch. You go to our YouTube. You go right here on Facebook. You follow us on Instagram. You do all that work. You like, comment, you subscribe to the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. But also, you want to go ahead and support all these great sponsors. John, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, like Charlie said again, so eloquently and slightly drunkenly, because IPAs are particularly drunk inducing. Again, the show would not be possible without the support of fine gentlemen gamers like Facebook Gaming's own Sergeant Finesse. Again, right here on Facebook Gaming, Sergeant Finesse, 2 streams a day, outstanding gaming content, supporter games, giveaways. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, and I do, you can even check him out over on Twitch, where he exclusively plays WoW. So if you need a little bit of that sword and sorcery action, you can catch him on Twitch over there doing that thing. Consider becoming a supporter. If you need a pick-me-up, do like I do. Follow the White Rabbit down to sneakenergy.com. So good. Use code SGT at checkout there. If you're looking for some fresh new gear, go over to geeksunleashed.com. Use code SARGE there. You can get some yoga pants and do that thing you do when the Sarge is on deck. Salute. GG, son. Charlie, what else?
Those yoga pants are very comfortable. I'm wearing them just out of frame. You need music in your life, and for that, you want to turn to not only the people who make our theme song, and you'll hear a track at the end, but you want to turn to Bad Mary. You can find them on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram at Bad Mary Band. You can go to their website, badmary.com. You can support them financially over on patreon.com/Bad Mary, and the best part is they are available on all music streaming services. Bad Mary, I love them, you love them, and we all love each other. So
the one thing that I'm not sure that Space Girl is going to be particularly pleased about is Charlie's very loose usage of the term theme song, because it is really just their song that we use to open up the show. But
right, listen
I
here.
quibble.
If Alexa Bliss from WWE on WrestleMania, the show of shows, is allowed to kind of steal their logo, I'm allowed to claim it's our theme song.
She kind of did it, but she looks good doing it. So if you're gonna steal, at least dress it up. And God knows that she does. But you know what, though? Well, I'm only human, mostly suspectable. But also, as well as, I want to go ahead and throw out an honorable mention to another can't miss property out there, and that is none other than the How About This podcast. That's right, starring our very own Jordan Hugh and Mike Staub, and also as well as this week only guest starring my little baby brother Charlie. That's right, the How About This podcast Ghostbusters episode is indeed starring Charlie. So definitely check that out. That comes out tomorrow on all of your podcast listening services. So definitely check it out.
Charlie Rivera, if you want your hour podcast to become an hour and a half podcast, you call Charlie, because you already know.
Yeah. Anybody who's listening or watching this, they know, bro. Trust me.
You ready for your time to start?
Oh, golly, I guess. Yeah, go ahead. Start my time.
Your time has begun.
Definitely not an official tap. So, folks, keep your eye on this kid. He's slippery as he is pretty. So, in the good news department, it just keeps on coming in strong, like the fog on a spring morning over the Hudson, completely obscuring the beautiful view that I paid double for in my rent. The good news just doesn't stop. Just only a week ago, 7 short days, we were talking about at some length, some of the amazing works of England's own, well, Northern England, Ireland, whatever. He's from someplace. Mark Miller, right? The Millerverse, the things that he has done for the bigs and the smallers,
Mediums
the mediums. Yeah, we're the smaller, they're medium. Uh,
for
so I
now.
mean, there, I mean that conversation was still floating in the air, right? Like, who wasn't even finished playing that particular episode, where I personally got an infusion of even more amazing Mark Miller news, and that is none other than the fact that another one of his works, which I'm particularly in love with, Starlight, I'm talking about, is indeed being adapted into a feature film.
That's
So
so
we are
awesome.
getting a feature film version of Starlight. Now, even for like real comic book heads, a comic like that might not be top of their list. Things going on, you got stuff to do. Your comic book pile kind of tends to pile up.
I love the notion of like, gotta do my taxes, can't read
Yeah,
Starlight.
like, oh, Starry Saga. I'll get there. I promise I'll get there, you horny son of a bitch. But I highly encourage anyone who has not done so already, go ahead, take Starlight, put it top of the pile, because you want to be damn right, Stan. See, Stan knows they don't call Stan the man for no reason, and by they I mean us, and by us I mean me.
Stan, drop it in the comments. Cool. I love Starlight.
That was
There's
an
like 19.
appropriate inflection for that amount of exclamation marks. Juiced by Charlie. That's a great reading. You must audition particularly well, and then when you show up for first rehearsal, they're like, "Oh, that's it.
I'm instantly fired.
That's how you're gonna do it."
Honestly, I get fired on. I get not selected on the callback.
I thought you were gonna do it like good, like an actor. But it's fine. It's fine. So Starlight
Podcaster.
again. Starlight is indeed being adapted. None other than Joe Cornish is going to be writing and directing it. So again, Mark Miller, for anyone who doesn't know, you do know him. You know him from Wanted. You know him from Kick-Ass. You know him from like 25 different upcoming comic book adaptations to Netflix. Obviously, Jupiter's Legacy was the conversation that was had here last week. This is just a dynamite movie, especially for like a sci-fi geek like me. Obviously, with a name like Starlight, it's clearly sci-fi. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a setup without ruining anything. And this also goes to the analog character conversations that we were having just the other day. So if you're Mark Miller or Jon and Charlie, and you want to tell a particular story involving a character that exists, or even like a character archetype that exists, but that's not your toy. That's your neighbor friend's toy. That's your cousin's toy that it gets locked up under the in the garage under the staircase because they know that you're just coming over because you want to play with it. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jason. You better lock up those G.I. Joe figures because I will play with them and I will lose all the guns. You better lock them up.
To be fair, JR stands for John Rivera and Jason Robles.
That's a valid point.
They're his now.
So, what was I saying? Oh, so Mark Miller basically did that, and he said, "You know what? I have a dynamite Flash Gordon-esque story to tell, but I don't want it to be Flash Gordon 2 Electric Boogaloo because then that involves certain things that I don't necessarily want to do." And if I could do the Irish accent, I would, because that was like verbatim what he would have said. So yes, Charlie's right. Queen is also doing the soundtrack. So he in essence wrote a Flash Gordon type character story where in essence here is this Earthling gets transported to another planet, another world, and helps like save the day, like in a Flash Gordon type moment. Then is returned back home, and 35 years have now gone by. So he gets married, he has kids, he develops a nice little, dad bod, and he's kicking back. And almost in an Al Bundy type of way, he's just sitting back. He's got his hand in the brim of his pants. He's like, Peg, do you want to get the hell out of the TV? Get out of the way. I can't watch. Is the dog talking? Does anybody hear the dog but talk but me? Like, what's going on? Poor Al Bundy / Flash Gordon. So the funny thing about it is that he's got all these like vivid memories, and you get a lot of flashback type scenes, and it's beautifully illustrated, and it really does put you in that kind of like almost B movie sci-fi world,
That's
but
awesome.
it flesh it out. So like that's like the whole world. It's not a sound set, right? This is exactly, this is around every corner. So all these amazing adventures are had, but nobody here on Earth believes him. Not his wife, not his kids, not Joe Schmo around the block that he goes to the bar with and knocks a couple of fizzy IPAs with. No, it was like, shut up, you dumb. Like, just zip it up. Trying to watch the
There was
game
a
here.
big guy with wings, but he also had hoverboard wings. Why both?
So here he is, and like, it's bad enough when your best days are behind you, and like life is just like smacking you in the face with this miserable truth constantly. But what if, as well as like, you don't have any photographic evidence, you don't have any mementos, and the people who are supposed to love you, that you clearly have sacrificed and done terrible things for, don't believe you. That's in essence where our
fucking
head characters.
genius.
Now that's the setup, right? That's all the setup, and that's my time, folks. No, that's the setup.
Whoa!
And then, so he's like, well, this sucks. Clearly, this sucks. Page 4, and this already sucks. Then out of the blue, very conveniently for us, the reader, from the mouth of babes, right? As they say, a little child shows up. It's like, hey, Pudgy, we need you back. Like, is that you? Like they pull a hook where like they smooth his face back. Like, there you are, Peter, you fat bastard. Come on, we need you back. Let's go. Come on, we got some heroing to do. And he's like, fuck that, man. Like, I got no appreciation from it the first time, and that was in my best of days. Look, this is not happening now. So again, I won't ruin it. I won't pull a Charlie and tell you everything that happens in the episode.
If you haven't
Hilarity.
seen episode 4 by now, go fuck yourself.
Hilarity ensues. It is a dynamite comic. Now, here's the other thing, and it's going to make a wonderful adaptation. It just is. It's in very good hands, and also it is the type of property that will play very well within that 2-hour, 2:15 time frame. Like, there are certain properties that you cannot do that to. When I heard like, oh, Dark Tower, the movie, I should have just lit theaters on fire like a pyromaniac. And don't lock me up, folks. When you're listening, I was just kidding about that. But like, in what universe would even one of those books be able to be crammed into a 2-hour time frame? It's impossible. But again, that all being said, this is one of those properties that it's going to fit. It's going to fit beautifully within the constraints of what they want to do. Now, that's not. I mean, that's really all set up. I know half my time is gone. But Charlie, we talked last week about some of the amazing properties that this man is responsible for. So just as a reminder, never mind, like put up on that proverbial shelf where my Holy Grail will be going very shortly. Put all the Miller World stuff up on the shelf. Think about what he has single-handedly done for Marvel. Like, Civil War is him, right? Civil War is him. Old Man Logan is him. And a lot of people can argue that what we're really seeing now in the entire extended Marvel universe on the big screen is really more the Ultimates than anything else. And guess what, guys? The Ultimates is him. So there is one particular project that I'm standing here today, not asking you, not begging you, insisting that you people go out and make. And I realize that the Miller World properties are in essence in the ever-loving clutches, nay, embrace of Netflix. I understand. But if Miller's properties can do this for one of the bigs, I got news for you. there's another big on the block that may have done some scuffling of late, hasn't been embroiled. Charlie, you were talking about politics and what have you. There's been some, like, certainly Twitter has had a lot to say about the things going on. I will say it, going on over at DC. So DC, if you're listening, guys, you're so desperate to copy Marvel's success that you thought, well, I'm going to copy their game plan, but you didn't copy their game plan. Yeah, you picked one movie that you wanted to model everyone else's looks over, and yeah, you wanted to make an extended run universe, and yeah, you did X, Y, and Z, and you rushed the hell of it like it was the last season of Game of Thrones, but we will forgive all of that for you. You have now established that there is going to be a multiverse, right? You're going to have a DC multiverse. Clearly, you have movies like The Joker that are doing exceptionally well. You've got The Batman, who you're saying, like, well, that's like that's a different continuity. That's not Earth One. You know, DC they number their realities, right?
So now they have 2 Earth 2s. You have numbers, bro. Have
Charlie,
the TVs just be their own boat, but
Mark Miller is the guy, the gentleman, the sage that brought me and you and all of the other Superman fans out there undeniably one of the best Superman adaptations we have ever seen. And I am talking about none other than Charlie. Go ahead and drop it on him.
I believe you're referring to All-Star Superman.
I am not.
Fuck.
But it was a good try. Charlie will edit that out in post.
Was that his Batman?
I am talking about none other. And I gave you even the clue earlier. Yeah. So in Soviet Russia, life fucks you. I'm talking about none other than Red Sun. Red Sun. You want to say like, Marvel has a what if TV series? I'm DC. I can be like, that's cute. Watch this shit. Want to see a what if? What if Superman, instead of landing in Smallville, what if he landed in fucking Russia, in a farm in Russia? How exactly would that play out? So you know Superman. So this takes that attitude of like, look, you already know the building blocks of a character. So the bare minimum we have to give you is Charlie and John's patented opening credits backstory, right? The same thing that Sony and Marvel did with the current Spider-Man. They're like, look, we don't need to kill Uncle Ben again. You don't need to see him get bit by the spider. You know what's going on. We're just gonna start the storytelling.
They're like, he's super dead.
More Zendaya. He's dead. He's gone. He's on a box of rice. We're over it. Okay. So DC can do exactly that. They don't need to give us all of the nuts and bolts. Like, we get it. Just the attitude of like, well, what if he landed in Russia instead? Imagine what would happen from there. And Mark Miller takes that concept, which is a brilliant concept. But if that's where the brilliance ended, it's not really even worth mentioning, other than like, well, what other curveballs can you throw at it? What he ends up doing with it is such a work of beauty that it's like, how could that not be adapted? And also, that is one of those stories it's too long. Like, so if DC did a version of like the What If series, that would have to be like a season.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that within an episode.
Well, especially it brings in every character, and what's really brilliant about
exactly. Oh, you want to have 72 guys play Batman? This is how you do it. You have all of these like Elseworlds, other version stories. Doesn't make a difference who you could have. You could have Ben Affleck play 52 characters. Charlie would throw money at you hand over fist.
I'm like, oh, bring me that butt chin and a cow, baby. What I love about Miller though is he is the one guy standing in the forest when everyone else is like, well, what? But like, there was a meme that went around this week that was like, every writer in the 90s be like, well, what? Bear with me. What if Superman was like dark and gritty? What if Batman was dark? What's amazing about Miller's work is he was like, okay, hold my beer. So Superman lands in Russia and he's still fucking Superman. Superman's the tits. Superman fucking rips. He's the coolest, greatest guy ever. But he's on the fucking like wrong side of history. How does that
Depends on
shit
the
play
history
out?
book.
It's fucking
It depends on the history book.
genius.
Because
And if you want,
again, no spoilers, no spoilers. I insist.
yeah.
Because again, we're talking about an era of Soviet history where, like, if you've ever seen a Tom Cruise movie between 1982 and like 1992,
Like we're fighting.
you know the era that you're talking about. You're like, did I see Sylvester Stallone like riding on a horse through the desert? Like, was that even in that? So again, this is one of those opening credits explanation. Like, people get it, right? This audience is like, I gotcha. We're on the same page. Now tell us the story. So again, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, because here's the other thing. I feel like
to read it. It's a must. If you read,
it's a must
read Red Son.
read. It's a must read. In so much as like Kingdom Come is a must read. You know, so DC comics are just, they're really the bee's knees. They really are. They really are. I understand that they've had trouble adapting. I get that. I get that. But you just cannot let that hold you back from ingesting some of this content.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, believe me if you will. If you don't believe me, shame on you, because I'm right. This is the type of thing that if they adapted it, it's a home run.
It has
if you
Joker
want to
potential.
if you want to pull that like Iron Man trick again, can absolutely set you up for like, okay, this is what we're going to be doing for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm not talking about like, okay, we're going to do an extended universe where everything's set in Russia because you're seeing all those versions. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you lean into this like concept of a multiverse exclusively.
Yeah.
That's how you protect yourself. That's how you don't have to worry about loopholes. That's how you don't have to worry about like, well, if this person was here, then how about, you know, why weren't they available for the giant squid and like all kinds of
amazing
problems.
though is then in 2030, which will be here before you know it, hopefully, if we don't get got. What's amazing is then you bust out the like, we're doing a movie called Superman. And it's fucking just like, I'm Clark Kent. And you're like, but he's not a lizard? Or he's not a Green Lantern? Like, how fucking crazy would it be if we got the like Superman, the Greatest Lantern movie? And that's how they fucking like bring the Green Lantern Corps into the main thing.
Sure.
They're like, in a world where Krypton doesn't explode, it's Greatest Guardian. Fuck yes, because we have Kyle in the comment section threw out a good point, but I think it's in too small of a scale. Kyle, he said, unfortunately, DC just can't compare to Marvel in the movie world. I love the comics, but I'm always weary when DC comes out with a new movie, and you're right to be weary.
Sure, of course.
He's representing.
History has dictated that reaction is completely justifiable and understandable. And you would almost be a dum-dum like myself and my brother if you're like, every time a DC movie comes out, like, this is going to be the one, guys. This
Ryan
is what's going to write
be
the
Green
shit.
Lantern?
Yeah.
What's amazing, though, and I won't pretend I wrote it. Someone clever on the internet threw it out there, but they wrote, who are 4 comic book characters that you think are one good story away from becoming A-listers? And this comic book writer wrote, let me answer that on behalf of comic writers everywhere. Everyone!
It's true.
We're always one hit away. We are 90 minutes or 60, or you know what I mean? Or 120 minutes or a mini series away.
Or depending on how fast you read.
Exactly. If you told me that I would care about Captain America the way I do because of what the Marvel Cinematic Universe did, Iron Man wasn't an A-lister. It took one flick. One. Batwoman tomorrow could be the biggest property if it's handled the way that Guardians of the Galaxy. There are kids with Guardians of the Galaxy bed sheets. Are you shitting me?
There are so many examples. Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is a fucking sidekick who made her debut in a cartoon. No one since Boba Fett has had that less glamorous of an introduction to the nerd-bearing world and had as indelible as an effect as this lunatic. Yeah, you kidding me? The matter of fact, we are now officially put a stamp on it, put it up on the shelf, lock it in. This is going to be referred to as pulling a Harley Quinn. Any character, I don't care what the badge on the cover of the comic says. I don't care if they're a fourth lister in somebody else's comic. Any character is only one good storyteller away from pulling a Harley Quinn and being on the proverbial underpants of John right now. Yeah, I'm wearing some Harley Quinn underpants. What are you gonna do about it?
And he almost never wears underpants, ladies of Bumble.
As a matter of course. Matter of fact, I want to throw it out before our time. The reason why I'm wearing
Bumble.com/CEO.
The reason why I'm wearing one underpants is because I actually went outside of my home just recently, and I was delighted by a lovely meal at a restaurant that I had never been to before, but I highly recommend anyone goes to who lives in the New York City area. Momo-san Ramen and Sake. Oh, was that some good eats? I came in, they look at me, they're like, "You're a vegetarian, aren't you, you little bitch?" And they things were pointed out to me what I should be eating. It was just dynamite.
That is the
just
greatest
a dynamite meal
ever.
Guys, check them out. Momo-san Ramen and Sake. Do it before you read any comics.
A proud
this
new
takes
sponsor.
Priority.
You know, again, as
unsolicited.
As time dwindles down, another great point from our comment section. They said Margot Robbie played a huge role in Harley Quinn becoming so popular.
Kyle, it was way before that, man.
The comic books, the cartoon. But bottom line is, when you look at the scale of even the cinematic versions, one would argue Thor has had the better movies. One would argue that Captain Marvel was better than Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. But who's more popular? It's proving the point. We are living in one of the greatest times
Harley Quinn is
nerd
like bulletproof.
history. It's just
Oh, sorry, buddy. You let one go through the wickets because it's a goal.
Man, I would watch you announce soccer all day, and I'm not calling it
goal.
footy. Oh, snap. Oh, Suki now. I'm just going to let you dance for a while. This is dynamite.
I forgot for like a split second. I am wired. I came very close to choking myself out. The worst part about it, I drank out of the cup of Christ, so I wouldn't even die. I would just be laying here, all hanging out, tongue out. And then when the paramedics eventually came, they were like, "This motherfucker is wearing Harley Quinn underwears." Wrap it up, guys. We gotta go.
That sounds about right. For my brother, the CEO of US Comics, you guys have a mission. You're going to share this episode if you're watching it on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. You're going to drop a like. If you already dropped a like, I want you to remove that like, and I want you to change it for like a heart or a happy face. I want you to tell your friends to support us. Even if they don't like stuff, follow us on all of our social media. It's all at US Comics HQ, and frankly, it means so much more than you could possibly imagine. We want you to support our sponsors because they support us. But my dear
Griffin,
my dear delicious brother, there's only one way that we end this and every episode of US Comics Cast, available on all podcast streaming services. And how is that, my friend?
Well, today's a little different. I'm going to say it's a two-part process. First, you got to go with Sam and Jeremy over to Momo-san and have a delicious meal, because that sake will hit you where it hurts. But then once that's done, you got to turn the power on. You got to turn the volume up. You got to tune Bad Mary in. Open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky. Save me, space girl. We out.